Good day, everybody. My name is Paulus Masongo. I'm from the GIZ F4R team, and what you're looking at here today is how to make your own compost. It can be in your own garden, in your farm, or at home in your backyard. So what you want to do is select an area that's preferably an area with shade within your farm or your garden for you to put your compost here. As you can see, I'm in a shaded area. This is the perfect spot where we're going to do our compost today. And follow me as we go to the materials. They must be in arm's reach. All your materials that you'll be needing for the compost, so you can do a compost efficiently and properly so you don't forget anything. Now, as we go over the list of the materials, we have ash, manure, which can be from your cattle, your goat, your sheep, your chicken, any that's on your farm. You might also want to have a bit of litter, so your straw, your sawdust, your husk, so that's your brown material. And then you can also have some green material, which is your fresh green leaves or your fresh manure. So that will be some of the things that you will need, but you can also add some of the special ingredients. I call them special because it's things that can be there or not be there. Things like your shells of your chicken egg shells and the likes. So these are some of the materials you can be looking forward to be using in your compost. The more the better. For this next step, we are going to mark out where your compost heap will be laying. So what you want to look out for is the width and the length. You might want to put the width at 1 meter spacing and your length up to 3 meters for a startup, but you can extend it to 5 meters or however long you want it to be. I'd not bring any measuring tools, but I know that if I stand wide enough, that should be a 1 meter, and then I can mark it out as a 1 meter width, and with the steps you can mark out a 3 meter and stop wherever you stop, and then you mark it out like so. This preferably would be our 1 meter by 3 meter. This is where all the material will be laid out, not outside it. Here you see me soaking some of this material that I'll be using. On my left hand, I have the cattle dung, and on the right hand, I have grass, which is dry grass. The only importance of you soaking it beforehand is that you want to activate the microorganisms before you put it in your compost heap. You can equally do the soaking afterwards, which you can now put it on top of the compost heap, but I prefer doing it beforehand, and then you get a head start. The first thing we're going to do is put a layer of straw, or it can also be twigs, yeah, from branches, which you don't want to cut off the twigs for now. So we use the leftovers from the cowpeas. That will be our first layer to bring in that air. And also we're going to put up 2 chimneys, 2 sticks. Also we just want that aeration. We don't want our compost to be dumpy and actually rot. There's a difference between rotting and decomposing. You just want to make sure that your first layer is evenly distributed and of equal height. So you just want it on the same level and evenly distributed. In addition to the first layer of twigs or straws that can bring in air, you also want to put in your chimneys. So these 2, you want to dig them in, the first layer like so. In it that you will remove them at the end of your compost. When you complete your compost, you remove these 2 and they'll serve as chimneys. So we move on to the piling of the material. We're going to start with this soaked grass. All we want to do is make a bed. So after we pile up that, we also want to pile up the cow dung on the same spot. As you can see right now, we're just trying to have a consistent layer of the dry grass and as well the cattle manure, just so we have that balance of that carbon and that nitrogen. You don't want to have too much of the carbon, then your compost is lacking the other component, which is the nitrogen part. Also, you don't want to have too much of the manure, because then it doesn't decompose, it rots. So I have some of the green materials close to us here, and what this serves as is, if you have little manure, you can also use this. It works in the same aspect. It helps with your nitrogen. If you're a mahangu producer, you can use your mahangu husk. The materials you can use for this is in abundance. We'd like to add in our special ingredient, some potassium, some ash. Voila, this one you just have to spread it all over. So it's also good to look at the manure that you have. How old is it? So fresh manure, it has more nitrogen content as opposed to the old manure. As we know that our livestock also don't only drop the dung, they also urinate on this manure. So in the urine, there's higher urea content, which is your higher nitrogen concentration, as opposed to the ones that have stayed longer, because there's many things that can happen. Denaturfication by the sun, or also it can be lost by leaching when it's raining on it. Also, naturally, nitrogen just goes back to the atmosphere. As you can see, this is how we have it as the last layer, and we've been repeating these layers, which is the brown and the green, your manure and your dry grass, over and over with some of the special ingredients like your ash, your biochar. But then when you come to this point, we've completed it, and now we just gotta see how we can take care of this, because this is not the final product. Now we just completed the heap, but there's something that you gotta do before you call it a completed compost. You have to come back here and make sure it's moist. Just put your hands in there, feel it. If it's not moist, add a little bit of water. Not too much though, but each and every now and then. Just say give it 2 days in between, and you come and give it a little bit of water again. As for our chimneys, which is just 2 wooden sticks in this matter, after we've completed the compost heap, we take them out. So this is where you'll be coming every now and then and stick your hand right there like so. It's your gauge or your thermometer, and then you can tell if it's hot or cold. If it's cold, you're doing something wrong. So either you should put a plastic cover on it just to increase the temperature, or give it more water. That means there's inactivity because your microorganisms are not getting enough water and they are inactive. So at the end of the compost, when it's completed, you want to cover it with something on top of the heap, be it a plastic covering, which is ideal for you just to keep that heat in it, especially in winter, which is the season we have made this compost in. You want that heat to be in there. You can also use green leaves if you have it at your disposal. All you want to do is just to cover the compost heap. Also, you can use what I have here. After a few weeks of making your compost heap completed, this is what it will look like. So it's up to you, the owner or the farmer, to make sure that you do tend this every now and then. 2 weeks in, you tend, you let it rest, just give it water, and then come back again similarly in 2 weeks and tend once more. So you just need a garden tool like a garden fork, then from there, and you bring it back. From up under, just to bring in a little bit of air, and also make sure it's not damp. That's why we're doing this. Bring in a little bit of air, turn it, mix it up, and also just so we don't have anything rotting underneath there. All right, so say in about 3 months, you should have a compost that has all the nutrients that your plants, your vegetables do require in your garden, and then it should be dark and rich in matter as so. Thanks for watching. Let's keep gardening.